Time is money, and money, well, we all need money. And there is no better feeling in life than making money every minute of your day by doing exactly what you love. And in this video, I'll share with you how I monetized every single aspect of my life and how I successfully and easily run 2 businesses. And to achieve that, I've used these 5 very specific questions and my journal. My name is Lucas, and on this channel, I teach you how to build an online business that gives you freedom, is connected to your ikigai, the reason for being, and leverages AI tools. And now, on with the video. Question 1, what am I weak at? I basically wrote down this question when I decided to monetize my life and to make it profitable. One of the first answers that I got, I can't work under a boss. Basically, I can't have a boss. That's just not gonna happen, and that's not my path, because as soon as I have sort of an authority, anybody above me, I get paralyzed and I just simply can't execute a vision. I can't do my best. All of my creative ideas are gone. So with that in mind, I knew that obviously the easiest path was to probably start my own business. And now when I say this, I fully understand that, for example, not being able to have a boss or an authority isn't the best path, and it's not an admirable feature to have. But the reason why and how you can monetize your life is by simply knowing what you're not good at and then compensating for that in other ways, knowing how to play your weaknesses rather than trying to just make it happen, trying to, as in my case, I should have then tried and get a boss. I should have tried being in a job, but I don't think I would have built up 2 very successful businesses had I not addressed my weakness. So that was one. So for me, understanding that I can't have a boss wasn't the path that I could take, and I was okay with that. Then later on, when I started a business and it was going quite okay, I realized that I'm not really good with numbers, and that wasn't this sort of mathematically strategic way of approaching and running a business. So I knew that I had to outsource that part, and I needed to get a project manager who was definitely better than I was. Accept that, and accept the fact that I'm going to get somebody on board who is going to be better than me. They are going to teach me. Approaching this whole thing with certain humility and understanding that, well, I have some good ideas. I started a business, but you know what? I may not be the best person to manage the whole thing. Then I went on and found a really good project manager. And by working with her for 4 years, I feel I've learned, improved, and I would even say to some extent mastered the idea of project management, and I can do it quite well now. But at the time, I knew that wasn't the thing that I could do. So identifying these elements of where you may not be the best at, accepting that, and finding workarounds. And whether you just simply want to run a freelance career or you want to build up this whole corporate empire, doesn't quite matter. What matters is your ability to identify where you're not very good at and where you may need some help, or you may need to change your strategy. Question 2, what are my top skills? So when I sat down to monetize my life, as I said before, I looked at my weaknesses. But once I knew what I wasn't good at, the question was, what were my top skills? What were the things that made me unique and that I was actually good at? And that was definitely very eye-opening, because by then I had identified, as I said to you, that I didn't want to have a boss. That was out of the question. Then a few things happened in my life where I did have a boss in the end, but that was more of a mentor. And I talk about it in my other videos, so I'm not going to go into detail. So what I identified then as my top skill was, to start with, that was languages. I knew that I could easily teach English, and this is how I started my English language school, and I set up multiple schools across Europe, because I just looked at the list of my skills, and and the top one was languages, and I thought to myself, well, that's a no-brainer. It's so easy for me to learn a language, to teach a language, to come up with a curriculum, and that was the fastest sort of money in terms of monetizing my skill and that aspect of my life. So I set up the language schools, and that took me definitely a good couple of years to get started. And then skill number 2 on that list was writing, and I had come from an arts background. Up to that point, I knew how to write stage plays, but that wasn't really going to be very monetizable. So then I said to myself, okay, so what can I do with writing that isn't fiction writing, but I could possibly take and monetize? And the answer was marketing, branding, positioning. And this is where I started to slowly build my marketing, copywriting, and business mentoring company, which again took years to build, but that was already clear to me that this is where I would be starting. So by identifying these top skills, I was then very clear with myself, okay, so this is what I'm good at. These are my strengths. I can charge for these skills. And at the same time, know the things that I wasn't good at, and now I had to balance the two in order to monetize every aspect of my life. Question 3, what are my passions? So I didn't want to be this calculative person who, looks at what they're good at and what they're bad at and what can be sold, and suddenly, I sort of map out the path of my life. I also wanted to tap into what was important to me and my heart. And I asked myself, okay, so what are my passions besides these professional skills that I had that could be monetizable? One of the things that I wrote down was journaling. And I've journaled my entire life. That has been the greatest tool for me to build up my business, to build up my career and create my products and so forth. So I thought to myself, it would be absolutely amazing if I could actually teach it and I could run workshops. So when this came about in my list, I then acted on it and I ran multiple workshops around the world. So what I would then do is whenever I traveled, whenever I moved to a new place, I would try to run some of these journaling workshops. And whilst they were not making plenty of money, but it was something that I got paid for, and the value of that money was way greater because I was actually doing what I really loved and what I was really passionate about. So that was journaling for me. And I always, by the way, ask these questions on regular basis, and I write down the answers because it's very important to me to check in. How am I doing this year? How am I tracking along with these questions this year? And another passion of mine is creating content, writing, scripting, and ideating. And I have been doing some of it in the business, but then I thought I wasn't doing enough of it. So the easiest thing to do that is to actually film and create videos like this one, where I get a chance to talk about what matters to me, script my ideas. And what I realized was that the best format to do that was to create videos like this one, because this gives me a chance to crystallize my ideas, to script a video, to shoot a video, to really get this whole production going. And again, that's something that is building up our brand, giving us more credibility and authority. And at the same time, I'm actually pursuing what I really love. Question 4, what are the things that I don't want to do? And this question comes at number 4 for the reason. Because first, if you want to actually monetize your life, you first have to ask yourself, what you can sell and what are the top skills that you have that people would pay for. But once you get going, you can go back and ask yourself this question, looking at what are the things that put you out of your flow and what are the things that you don't want to do. And for me, that has been for a long time, sales calls, client calls, and sort of things that required me to be glued to my laptop at a certain hour. I hated the fact that I would have to show up for 5 calls a day. That was something that I didn't want to do. And when I started out my English teaching business, I did it because I had to, because if you wanted to monetize your life, there are some compromises that you may have to make. But as you grow and as you build up your profile and your businesses, you have more and more freedom. You earn more and more freedom. So for example, nowadays, whenever my team says, oh, well, let's launch this product and let's do this product, I can always go back to this question and check in with what I don't want to do. And so for me, as I said, I didn't want to do sales calls. And that's why I came up with the idea of having and building memberships, because I'd rather build a membership where I do community calls, where we create great content, where we support our folks there, but it does not require calling in with people 10 times a day. And that was very, very important to me. And I know that by having this standard, I am leaving money on the table and I am not monetizing every single aspect of my life. However, I'm balancing that with what drives me and what I want to do. So I would really encourage you, as you listen to this list of mine and how I monetize my life and how I designed this whole structure, to think about yours. Question 5, what am I doing in my life now and I'm not getting paid for it? how could I get paid for it? Now, it doesn't mean that for every little thing that you do in your life, you should get paid. And life is really not about, obviously monetizing your relationships or monetizing your free time. However, when you look at certain aspects of your life, of your day, are you doing anything or something that could actually be bringing in money effortlessly? So for me, for example, I definitely see something that can be generating money and it is not doing that yet. I do travel a lot. I love exotic travels and I do love people as well. And oftentimes I do end up traveling, but then my partner can't travel with me because he has a job, or my friends are also busy. So I end up traveling alone. So in this case, for me, having the ability, for example, to travel and run a retreat where my clients come and we do a workshop where we work on their businesses, on their copy, on their sales pages, or possibly having journaling workshop of sorts, that could be a beautiful experience. And well, that would pay for my travels. It would be just something that I'm doing anyway. So I would also encourage you to ask yourself, what are these maybe sort of little things that you do or things that you don't think of monetizing, but actually you could. And even if you decide not to think about life that way, and that's totally right, it is a good exercise to do because that switches on your business brain and gets you to think about how anything and everything you do becomes a cash flow and a business. And again, I definitely hold, normal human perspectives on life where I don't really think that, as I say, all of the things that we do have to be monetized. But the ability to generate ideas that later bring in money is definitely a good skill to have. And later on in your life, should you need money, you could choose to do that. So if you haven't done it yet, go over these 5 questions and work through your own life and see which aspects of your life you could monetize yourself today and which ones you may want to leave for later. Now, if you want more inspiration, I encourage you to click on this video that's appearing on your screen right now, where I share how I build $1 million online business. See you in the next video.